Welcome back, everyone. In the last session, we explored the second unalienable right described in the Declaration of Independence, liberty. We saw that liberty is a sacred gift from God and that human power must be limited because human beings are both dignified and fallen. Today, we turn to the third great phrase in the Declaration, the pursuit of happiness. When I first came to the United States many years ago, I was amazed by how free this country is. People can move anywhere they want. They can build their lives wherever opportunity takes them. In China, where I grew up, people are still restricted by government permits tied to the place where they were born. But I quickly noticed something else about freedom in America. Many things that are tightly controlled in China are legal in private life here. People can go to strip clubs, rent adult movies, or download pornography. When I first arrived, I was not a Christian. Like many people, I believed freedom meant enjoying whatever pleasures were available. So I indulged in those freedoms. At first, they brought excitement and pleasure, but it did not last. The excitement quickly faded and was replaced by shame and emptiness. Yet somehow I still wanted more. The pleasure was temporary, and it did not produce real happiness. Years later, when I became a Christian, I began to understand something deeper about human nature. Every human heart is prone to sin. Left to ourselves, we naturally chase after pleasure and self-indulgence. But those paths never lead to lasting joy. God offers a better path. The freedom God promises is not the freedom to do whatever we please. It is the freedom to choose what is holy, good, and life-giving. That realization changed how I understood the meaning of freedom and how I understood the famous phrase in the Declaration of Independence, the pursuit of happiness. Today, when many people hear that phrase, they assume it means the freedom to follow our feelings and do whatever satisfies us. But that is not what the founders meant when they wrote those words. To understand what they meant, we need to look both at history and at Scripture. The phrase pursuit of happiness in the Declaration is closely connected to the political philosophy of John Locke, one of the most influential thinkers of the Enlightenment. Locke wrote that human beings possess natural rights given by God. In his famous work, Two Treatises of Government, he described these rights as life, health, liberty, and possessions. Locke believed the main purpose of government was to protect these rights, especially possessions, which he also called property, because property represents the fruit of a person's labor, responsibility, and stewardship. When Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence, he drew heavily from Locke's ideas, but Jefferson made an important change. Instead of writing life, liberty, and property, he wrote life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Why did he do that? Most historians believe Jefferson wanted a broader phrase. Property is important, but human flourishing involves more than possessions. It includes family life, moral responsibility, community, meaningful work, and the freedom to live according to conscience. The founders were not talking about pleasure. They were talking about human flourishing rooted in moral truth. And this idea aligns closely with the teaching of Scripture. The founders did not invent this idea. For centuries, Christian teaching had already connected true happiness with righteous living. Let's turn now to our passage for this session. Psalm 119, 33-40. Listen to verse 35. Direct me in the path of your commands, for there I find delight. That word delight is important. It carries the idea of joy, satisfaction, and happiness. The psalmist is telling us something very profound. True happiness is found in walking in God's commands. Notice the pattern in these verses. The psalmist asks God, "Teach me your ways. Give me understanding. Turn my heart toward your statutes. Turn my eyes away from worthless things." And then he says, "In the path of your commands I find delight." In other words, happiness is not found in doing whatever we want. It is found in living according to the design of our Creator. This brings us back to the founders. When they spoke about the pursuit of happiness, They did not mean the freedom to indulge every desire. They meant the freedom to pursue a virtuous and meaningful life. In their view, liberty existed for a purpose. Liberty created the space for people to build families, work honestly, practice faith, serve their communities, and live responsibly before God. The founders believed that virtue and freedom must go together. If freedom is disconnected from moral truth, it eventually destroys itself. Over the years, I have worked with many international students in our church's fellowship. Some of them struggled with pornography, just as I once did. Others became trapped in drugs and could not escape. Some were drawn into the LGBTQ movement, believing it would bring them identity and fulfillment. But again and again, I have seen the same pattern. None of these paths brought lasting happiness. Instead, many of these young people experienced broken lives, damaged careers, and fractured relationships. I also see concerning trends in the culture surrounding our children. My own children grew up attending schools in an affluent neighborhood, yet the ideas being promoted there are troubling. Prayer is not allowed in school, but progressive ideology is strongly encouraged. Students are taught to affirm nearly every lifestyle or behavior in the name of tolerance and inclusion. Some school libraries now contain books with sexually explicit content. Widely debated examples include Genderqueer, All Boys Aren't Blue, and This Book Is Gay, which contain graphic sexual descriptions and are marketed to teenagers. These examples reflect a broader cultural shift. When a society turns away from God and His moral design, it should not surprise us that many young people today struggle with anxiety, depression, loneliness, and a deep sense of dissatisfaction with life. Despite living in one of the most prosperous societies in history, many still feel lost. Why? Because true happiness cannot be separated from truth. That is why the biblical vision of happiness is so different from the modern one. True happiness is not found in doing whatever we want. It is found in living according to the wisdom and goodness of God. And that brings us back to the words of Psalm 119. Direct me in the path of your commands, for there I find delight. Liberty gives us the freedom to pursue happiness. But Scripture reminds us that true happiness is found only on the path of righteousness. As Christians, we are called to influence our culture with wisdom, courage, and truth. Now let's look at some of the hard questions people often raise about freedom and happiness. Question 1. Why should Christians care about how other people live their private lives? That is a very common question in our culture today, especially in a society that values personal freedom. First, when Christians speak about moral truth, the goal is not condemnation. The goal is love, a desire to see people experience the kind of true happiness that God designed for them. Societies shaped by Christian beliefs have historically been among the most tolerant and free. In many parts of the world today, people who identify as gay can face imprisonment or even violence. Christians believe that every person is created in the image of God and deserves dignity and compassion, even when we disagree about moral choices. Second, Christians also have a responsibility to protect their families. Parents naturally care about what their children are taught in schools and in the broader culture. When ideas are promoted that contradict their beliefs, many feel a duty to speak in public forums, such as school board meetings, to defend what they believe is good for their children. Third, in recent years, Christians have faced growing hostility for living according to their beliefs. There have been cases where believers lost their jobs or faced lawsuits and fines simply for expressing biblical views about marriage and morality. The book Undeniable, published by the First Liberty Institute, documents more than 1,400 incidents of hostility toward religious freedom in the United States. Finally, Christians believe they have a biblical calling to be good stewards of the world God created. The Bible calls believers to speak the truth in love. For these reasons, Christians choose to participate in public conversations about culture and morality, not to control others, but to bear witness to what they believe leads to true human flourishing. Question 2. If a transgender teenager is struggling emotionally, isn't opposing their identity harmful? This is an important and sensitive question, and it deserves both truth and compassion. First, Christians should always care deeply about the pain and struggles of young people. Many teenagers today face enormous pressure, confusion, and loneliness. They deserve kindness, patience, and genuine care. But compassion does not mean affirming every belief about ourselves. Imagine a doctor whose patient is suffering. A good doctor shows compassion, but he also tells the truth about the patient's condition. Ignoring reality may feel kind in the moment, but it does not lead to healing. In the same way, Christians believe that human identity is not something we invent for ourselves. It is something given by our Creator. The Bible teaches that God created human beings, male and female, and that our bodies are part of His divine design. When people experience confusion about their identity, they deserve support, guidance, and love, but not messages that deepen the confusion. Real compassion walks with people through their struggles while pointing them toward truth and healing. And the deeper issue here returns to the theme of this session: the meaning of happiness. Our culture often says happiness comes from self-definition. The Bible teaches something very different. True happiness comes from living in harmony with the way God created us. These questions remind us that the pursuit of happiness is not a simple idea. Modern culture teaches that happiness comes from following our desires. But Scripture teaches that true happiness is found in turning away from sin and walking in the ways of God. As Christians, we are called to speak about these issues with both conviction and compassion, remembering that every person is created in God's image and deeply loved by Him. True happiness is not found in redefining ourselves. It is found in living according to the design of our Creator.